sports media isn't in the truth business. It's in the emotion business. The more they can make you feel angry, defensive, outraged, the more you'll keep watching. And they've gotten frighteningly good at pushing your buttons without you even realizing. Like master puppeteers, networks carefully orchestrate which controversies dominate your timeline. I'll expose how they select storylines to amplify which athletes become heroes or villains, and how they manufacture narratives disconnected from actual game play. Remember that infamous Super Bowl call everyone argued about for weeks? Question mark, question mark, question mark. That's exactly what they wanted. If you've ever felt your blood boil over sports coverage, this video reveals the hitting strings being pulled. The emotional factory, how sports networks engineer your reactions. Did you know sports networks actually have meetings where they decide which emotions they want you to feel this week? Let me take you inside that room. Use your imagination, or better yet, picture this: a conference table surrounded by executives and producers, not discussing what happened in last night's game, no, but strategizing which emotions will keep you glued to the screen longer. It's not about reporting, it's about engineering your reactions. When I first learned about this, I couldn't believe it either. But it's the reality of modern sports media. These networks employ entire teams focused on crafting storylines that trigger strong emotional responses from the viewers. That's you, plural. They function as emotional architects, constructing narratives that keep us angry, defensive, or excited. What you think is sports coverage is actually a carefully engineered product. The debate show where two hosts are screaming at each other about a quarterback controversy. That wasn't random. That was planned, that was crafted, and that was executed specifically to make you feel something. When you feel something, you stay watching longer. When you stay watching, they make more money. Simple as that. The transformation resembles a theater of emotions. Sports debate shows have evolved from journalism into something closer to reality TV. I said it, reality TV. The personalities are larger than life. The arguments are heated and the analysis become, secondary. Everything centers on creating those emotional spikes that drive engagement. Behind the scenes, networks track engagement metrics across all platforms with scientific precision. I love me some science, but not like that. They've mapped exactly which content types generate the most comments, shares, and watch time. I know. What or when a segment about a quarterback controversy generates triple the engagement of game analysis, producers immediately adjust tomorrow's content accordingly. Consider the math. Networks need to fill 24/7 programming with only a limited number of actual games each week. This creates an enormous content void that becomes filled with what media scholars call manufactured controversy. I said the quiet part out loud. A production line for Outrage that keeps viewers emotionally invested. When nothing dramatically naturally occurs, producers orchestrate controversy by taking quotes out of context or magnifying minor incidents. A player's frustrated sideline expression transforms into locker room discord. A coach's non-answer becomes hiding information. Suddenly, you're emotionally invested in storylines barely teetered to reality. The financial structure rewards this emotional manipulation over accuracy. A network focusing solely on balanced analysis would lose viewers. Corporate suicide in today's media landscape. When ESPN shifted from traditional journalism to debate-focused programming, they fundamentally changed sports consumption patterns because debate shows cost less to produce while gathering or generating higher engagement. I ain't saying that again. Even commentators participate in this system. They speak with unwavering confidence regardless of prediction accuracy because our brains instinctively trust authoritative voices. This certainly isn't accidental. Nah, it's a performance technique exploiting cognitive biases that make us more likely to engage with confidently delivered content regardless of its factual foundation. Yeah. The four-way pressure cooker. Athletes, journalists, executives, and fans. This emotional manipulation doesn't just affect you as a viewer. It's created a four-way pressure cooker where nobody wins. We all losers. Behind every manufactured controversy and viral soundbite are real human beings caught in a system they didn't design but can't escape from. The mental health toll is staggering and it gets worse every season. Let's talk about our athletes first. Why not? These are people who spent their entire lives perfecting jump shots and swing techniques, not media training, not yet anyways. They're thrown into the spotlight completely unprepared for becoming walking content machines. Unless they're walking content machines. Studies show elite athletes experience anxiety and depression at rates similar to the general population or the Gen Pop, except during 3 critical periods. When they're not injured, or when they're injured, when they're in performance slumps, or when they're approaching retirement. During these vulnerable moments, their mental health problems skyrocket. Why? Because they're healing physically or working on their game while cameras analyze their every facial expression and commentators question their toughness. Remember when Kevin Love opened up about his panic attack During an NBA game, the media scrutinized, it turned into a health issue, into a character assessment. Yeah. One bad game becomes a week-long narrative about their character. One awkward interview becomes endless memes and mockery. The pressure comes from mainstream media and millions of social media users piling on simultaneously or at the same time. You pick, you choose. This creates workplace stressors for athletes most of us never face. Imagine, once again, use that imagination, being body shamed on national TV, athletes in sports emphasizing lean face, particularly pressure, leading to body image issues that can spiral into eating disorders. The cruel irony, athletes often didn't seek help because of a stigma, especially in a hyper-masculine sports cultures where mental health support is perceived as a weakness. Yeah, you got it. Journalists are trapped in this ecosystem too. I mean, people who enter the field loving sports and storytelling. The reality has become a brutal game of metrics. Thoughtful, nuanced piece equals minimum traffic. Outrageous hot takes equals job security. They're playing a rigged game. The 24/7 news cycle demands constant content, impossible to fill with substantive reporting alone. Journalists who refuse sensationalism get sidelined for those willing to manufacture controversy, in other words, sell their soul. Media executives aren't mustache twirling villains either. Nah. Pump your brakes. They answer to shareholders demanding quarterly growth. They're like farmers who know monoculture depletes the soil but can't afford to plant differently. When thoughtful coverage gets financially punished while outrage is rewarded, the business decision becomes clear. And finally, there's us, the fans, the fanatics. We're both manipulated by this system and its enablers. I'm guilty. Every click, every angry comment, and every shared hot take reinforces the machine. We say we want better coverage, but our online behavior tells networks the opposite. This isn't individual failure. It's a systematic problem where everyone makes choices they know aren't healthy because the alternatives seem impossible. Yeah, impossible. That nuanced, accurate sports coverage we all claim we want, it literally doesn't pay the bills in today's media ecosystem. Breaking the spell. How to watch sports without being manipulated. The system may be broken, but you don't have to be broken by it. Think about the last time you genuinely felt angry about a sports take. Was it worth your emotional energy, or were you being deliberately provoked? Those strong reactions don't happen by accident. They're engineered using specific psychological techniques designed to keep you hooked. Let me show you what's happening behind the curtain. Ever notice how your brain starts forming opinions the moment you see a headline? That's confirmation bias at work. Research shows we naturally gravitate towards information that reinforces existing beliefs about our favorite teams or players. When positive coverage aligns with our views, we accept it without question. Yeah. But when it's negative, We dismiss it instantly as biased reporting. Have you ever felt your heart race over a headline that turned out to be a trivial mishaps? Sports networks understand our psychological tendencies perfectly. They know you defend your team against criticism while eagerly consuming content that validates your own opinions. This is documented in studies showing how fans overestimate the likelihood of events they can easily recall, especially those highlights constantly replayed on networks. This manipulation targets our tribal instincts. Humans evolved as social creatures, imagine that, who identify strongly with our tribes. We're going to use tribes here. In modern life, sports teams feel that role. When your team is criticized, it feels like a personal attack, triggering defensive responses that keep you engaged with the content. Exactly what networks want. Watch for the false urgency technique. Yeah, it's a technique. During slow news periods, networks transform minor stories into breaking news emergencies. A player's routine social media post becomes a major controversy. A minor injury gets analyzed like a career-ending disaster. Like a magician, directing your attention away from the trick. Networks selectively edit clips to create conflict where none exists. Those seemingly controversial player interactions, many are ordinary conversations chopped and spliced to appear confrontational. A coach's comment taken out of context suddenly suggests they've lost faith in their quarterback. The availability heuristic affects even small and smart sports fans. Big ones too. When networks repeatedly show the same highlight or discuss one incident endlessly, you naturally begin to overestimate its importance. Why I keep hearing this? It must be special. It must be important. That spectacular catch replayed 50 times might represent just one play in a 60-minute game, but it dominates your perception of that player's entire performance. I had to slow it down for you so you can understand, and it might not be that important. Notice the difference of framing of the same story, depending on what market the coverage targets. A trade portrayed as brilliant strategy for one team's audience will be framed as desperate incompetence when it's presented to the opposing, the ops team's fans. This calculated emotional targeting maximizing viewer affinity in each market. Two birds, one stone. Next time you're watching sports coverage, ask yourself, is this information or is this manipulation? When you feel your blood boiling and when you feel your blood pressure rising, consider whether you're responding to actual sports events or carefully crafted emotional triggers. Is that breaking news better, justified, or just a way to keep you from changing the channel during a slow news day? So. We've unveiled the playbook that sports media uses to manipulate our emotion, but here's the important part. Sit down for it. Now you see it, you can take action. Becoming a more informed viewer means distinguishing between genuine analysis and manufactured entertainment. When commentators project absolute certainty, question what you're really hearing. Your first move is to bombard yourself with diverse sources. Become an active, critical viewer. This approach lets you enjoy the games you love without getting emotionally played. Nobody likes to get played. Next time that wave of outrage hits you, pause and ask, is this real? Let sports be your joy, not a scripted drama designed to tug at your heartstrings and strings. Heartstrings.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.